Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the beautiful vibes. Grab a drink. And we're gonna get into some books. Best believe there's a lot more books than you see right now. But we're gonna get into some books that are gonna help you be the best social scientist and researcher possible. At least these are the books that are helping me, so maybe it'll help you. Let's get into it. The first book is They Say, I Say. It's 5th edition, and it really helps you understand the difference and the nuances of academic writing. It's not just about how you perceive academic writing and your own writing. It also talks about your reading and your research skills and your comprehension skills when you're trying to digest research and findings and then regurgitate it to your company, to your stakeholders, or whomever. I really love this book too because it just demystifies the academic conversation overall. And if you're in academia full-time, you can understand how daunting that can feel. It takes your academic writing, in my opinion, to a whole other level. Data Leadership for Everybody is about 5-step data framework, and I really enjoy that because a framework is always going to allow you to understand what you should be having in deliverables and outcomes when you're using that specific framework or model. So it talks about accessing and preparing data for use. You should be able to refine data to maximize its potential through this framework, use data to find new insights, impact business success with data value, and that includes governing and scaling data-driven outcomes. So if that seems like your vibe, this is for you. I also feel like this is best for people who want to combine data insights with business insights. Data model storytelling. This talks about everything from indigenous storytelling and how that impacts data storytelling to also human-centered design and research within data. And that's just scratching the surface. A good combination of storytelling, expertise, and technical rigor with visualizations. So if that's your learning style, this book is also for you. Intersectionality as a Critical Social Theory by Patricia Hill Collins. This is a classic if you don't know what intersectionality is, or maybe you just don't understand how to implement it to facilitate social change. About 286 pages in this book, which is not bad at all for a theoretical book, but it also comes with its references. So if you're wondering where everything is coming from in terms of insights, the book gives you all of those citations. Skill development, theory, and applications. Now, in undergrad, I was always a qualitative girly. Qualitative girlies stand up, okay? And if you don't know what a qualitative researcher is, they are basically the researchers that focus on the non-numerical data, right? So the researchers that are doing those semi-structured interviews or those cognitive interviews, those focus groups, those are your qualitative researchers. Just a high-level gist, because they are so much more. This book really talks about the history of skill development, and then it goes into what skill development is. It's about general perspectives on measurement, historical origins of measurement in social science as a whole, not just in quantitative research or psychometrics. Any book can give you technical expertise and say, here's all the steps that you need to take. Here's all the frameworks you need to learn. Here's a vocabulary table, right? Like, it can give you all of that, but if there's a book that can teach you how to implement it in your industry as a whole, it gives you more freedom to be able to be an interdisciplinary or a cross-disciplinary researcher. Race and Restorative Justice. This is the little book of race and restorative justice, and it's just so good. It's a quick read, but it goes into a little bit of everything. So chapter 1 is all about the journey to racial and restorative justice. So you're getting a little bit of history. You're understanding that a lot of that history comes from African indigenous roots. Then you also go into how to heal a community through this framework. And then it talks about how school discipline and different educational systems impact the racial and restorative justice system in the United States, or the lack thereof. Community organizing and theory and practice. As you can tell, this book I kind of went through when I was an undergrad. This book is so helpful in being able to break down what theoretical frameworks look like in community organizing, because it's not going to look as analytical at first, as analytical as quantitative research or even data science, or just a technical, more clinical side of research, because community organizing, in my opinion, requires you to think about the participants as actual co-collaborators in the research study. But how do you get to that point? And it gives you a little bit of big picture while also giving you the steps to get to that big picture as a community organizer. I also recommend this for community-based researchers because it's just that good. It came out in 2015. I'm sure there's a newer edition, but it serves me well to this day. Machine learning for social and behavioral research. So there's machine learning for data science and data modeling, period. I haven't found a book except for this one, when I went to the UPenn bookstore, that actually combines machine learning and computational methods within the social and behavioral discipline overall. So this is a must read for me because I start my master's January regarding data analytics and computational social science. So I can't really tell you a full review on this book, but if you want it, I can give it in the future. Prescriptive analytics. This is all about risk management and optimal decision making that you can create or mold within your organization or your business through prescriptive analytics. So if that's your jam, this is going to be your jam. Prescriptive analytics is more directly linked to successful decision making than any other form of business analytics. It can help you systematically sort through your choices to optimize decisions, which I'm assuming if you optimize decisions, then you're optimizing your funds as well. Responding to new opportunities, and you're also able to understand what a risk register would look like for your specific business model or whomever you're working with in business analytics. So I really recommend this book. I only started it, I haven't finished it, but already as someone who's interested in business analytics and who is building up their data skills, this is really making you critically think about what decision strategy even is overall. Next, we have Hood Feminism. I read this book during the pandemic as a student in college during my undergrad experience, and it really just altered my brain chemistry. Little synopsis. Today's feminist movement has a glaring blind spot, and paradoxically, it is women. Mainstream feminists rarely talk about meeting basic needs as a feminist issue. But food security, access to quality education, safe neighborhoods, a living wage, and medical care are all feminist issues. All too often, however, the focus is not on basic survival for many, but increasing privilege for the few. And I'm going to leave you with that. And if that don't make you want to read this book, then you might be on the wrong channel, baby. Community and Commitment. This is a classic, and can you believe this is a first edition? This is originally published in 1977. I can't believe I got an original edition. Don't get me wrong, whomever had this before me, they slightly marked it up in the beginning, but it's in excellent condition, and I'm treating her like she's my baby. One, this pink cover is so iconic. Shout out to Elizabeth Moss Cantor. She fucking did that, okay? But Community and Commitment talks about why some communities and communes work and why others fail. And I also think this book really talks about why certain communities stay or remain in this system of stuck. And I really find that interesting as a sociologist because obviously I'm a community-based researcher, but I find it interesting because as sociology is the study of society, right? And psychology is the study of the individual mind. Those are the big differences. But understanding how we actually analyze a society to understand what we categorize and why we group the things we do, it really makes you think, this is how community standards are created. And if you are a sociologist or a social scientist, I really urge you to read certain publications that didn't just happen in the past 5 years or 10 years. Read your history. Data Feminism. This book is a must. You can tell I already started annotating her, but I haven't finished this book yet. Data Feminism is talking about how data science is a form of power. It has been used to expose injustice, improve health outcomes, and even topple governments. But it has also been used to discriminate, police, and surveil. It's kind of like a play a little bit on George Orwell's 1984. When I first started reading this, I was like, kind of reminds me of that. But less storytelling and more direct facts and a lot more evidence-based. And it really has more of a focal point of what does feminism look like in data science? What does feminism look like when you're dealing with data and numbers? And it's honestly understanding overall that the data that you hold or that you're molding holds 1,000,001 stories. The stories that you ignore or stories are often the ones that are undervalued and most needed for communities to feel reflected in the data that they're seeing instead of feeling like they're a number themselves, right? It's up to us to actually make sure that number isn't reflecting a meaning that doesn't represent us as a culture or as a community. And honestly, it's however you define that for yourself, right? So a lot of this also goes to the identity of feminism, in my opinion, when it comes to data. Thinking clearly with data, quantitative reasoning and analyses to be able to understand how data science should emphasize critical thinking, not just statistical techniques. So this is actually deemed a social science book, and this is why I picked it up. Because although I am slowly pivoting into data analytics and data science, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to just stop building my social science skills. I'm balancing both fields because the bridge between both is research. This book clearly emphasizes that bridge because research should be done with critical thinking and a level of intent that this book really talks about when it comes to what are you doing with your data, right? What is your reasoning? A reasoning that is connected to the critical philosophy of the framework you're trying to use to make your point or to show that your hypothesis is or isn't significant. Data visualization and analytics is 6 books in one, and it's been so helpful. As you can tell, I already started reading it, and it's really great in understanding and breaking down data like you were 5 years old. It's a thick book, but don't let it fool you. It's so digestible, and there's so many visualizations and tables. I think that's also why it's mega thick, but it's so worth it. I promise you, I think these are my last 2 books in this haul. Okay, so we have Practice Makes Perfect. This is Statistics and Mastering Math. So I'm going back for my master's program, and I can't expect for them to have a refresher course for me. So I've been putting in the work to relearn statistics. I haven't touched statistics since I was an undergrad, and I haven't been doing statistical analyses since I was in academia, and that was a little bit over a year ago. So now we're refreshing with some practice because statistics and math is just all about practice. Something that my statistics teacher told me in high school, he said, statistics needs to become your third language because it's a way that you speak and you use and you implement the language that allows you to memorize it, but also to appreciate it. And now, years later, I truly understand what he meant because as a researcher, and as we were speaking earlier, it's not just about statistical techniques. It's actually how you implement the statistics and the critical thinking behind it. Another book, in this book, oh, I wanted to gatekeep this book, but we don't gatekeep over here. We don't gatekeep over here, okay? Introducing Quantitative Methods. It's a practical guide with SPSS and Excel practice embedded in the book. Y'all, this is rare. Finding a book like this, it's rare, especially in social science. And if you're trying to become a mixed methods researcher and lean more on the quantitative side, this is your jam. So I haven't started this because, well, I'm trying to get through my statistics book first. But once I finish and I feel really great with my statistics book, we're diving right into this book. And if you want, I can do a deep dive on YouTube and take you along the journey with me. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. Everyone, these were all my books, and I have to get ready because I got sewing class. But I really hope that you enjoyed the book haul, and just let me know in the comments below different things you would like to see with these books. And if you have any ideas, I would love to be able to help you with your research journey because I believe we all have a little inner researcher in us.